I said, give me a hell yeah.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to a petty one-upmanship chronicling, ruthless aggression promoting, Mayor Jacob James episode of the Brothers of Discussion. Woo! We're going to talk everything from NXT's Great American Bash, which that is probably the wrong announcer voice for that. AEW's Fyter Fest going up against each other. Jake Hager being called rock hard. Real thing. And so much more. Matt, another spicy week of wrestling. Even more so this week because Taco Bell has just released the grilled cheese burrito, which was in my system the literal minimum it takes for food to navigate my organs. That's how long I was able to keep it inside. And then I had to rocket that one out. And that's not a typical Taco Bell dig. I eat Taco Bell 3 to 4 times a week.
Yeah.
This particular item, though, literally liquefied through all my vitals and expelled is like a sneeze, like a hiccup, just poof. So it tastes good, but it's spicy. Matt, was your week anything like the new Taco Bell friend of the show, Taco Bell grilled cheese burrito?
I could not be more disappointed in the name of that burrito when I saw a picture of it and I said, that's not a grilled cheese at all. I know why it's called a grilled cheese, but I feel like somebody was like, that's a thing already? A grilled cheese is a thing? Oh, fuck. Because it's a grilled cheese burrito because they grill cheese around the burrito. That's not what a grilled cheese is. A grilled cheese, I was picturing a chopped up grilled cheese wrapped in a tortilla that they put grill marks on.
White bread is really malleable. So I thought they just took a white bread grilled cheese and like rolled it up and then flattened it out and then put it in like a quesadilla or something. But that is not the case at all.
Super disappointed.
It's a real system cleanser.
My week's been okay. It went by pretty fast. When you don't have a job, all the days blend together. My wife had a half day today, so I had that to look forward to get some much needed
video game.
I love Addie to death, but man, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Gotta watch that little bugger, and it's exhausting. Just like it turns into when you're on vacation or you have a vacation coming up, that week goes by so fast. So Michelle had a half day today and then she's off tomorrow and the rest of the weekend. So it just kind of felt like the whole week just blew right by because I was looking forward to that. Am I the only, you know what? I say that and I realize like most people say the opposite. When I have a vacation coming up, week goes by like nothing. When I have a job, I should say. Anyways, yeah,
you're in a perpetual vacation. We don't know what you're talking about, man.
It's I keep telling Michelle I'm the Jerry of the family. And that was in the most recent season of Rick and Morty where Jerry was like, "This family needs a vacation," and then Beth was like, "Jerry, you don't have a job. You're always on vacation." And then that was like his last line of the entire episode.
Matt, now that we've built some rapport, where can the beautiful people find us?
Hey, that was good banter. That was A+ banter. Everybody can find us at bodpodcast.com, brothersofdiscussion.com, at bodpodcast on Twitter. We're the Brothers of Discussion on Facebook. We have our live wrestling discussion group, which would be more than happy to have some new folks join. We have our joints that we sell now. No, we have our joint. I forgot which social media account it was. Instagram. We have our joint Instagram account that is both Detroit Red Wings Hockey, which is our other show, The Discussion 5, and we have our Brothers of Discussion memes that go up there. I actually had fun, Mike. I saw that my graphic that I put together with my newfound Photoshop skills of Thatcher and
Dexter Lumis.
Lumis. Yeah, it really blew up. I had a lot of fun putting that together. It's not like the best work. It's more or less just me practicing with the new things that I learned in Photoshop. But that was that sucker blew up. And I tell you what, quick spoiler to the rest of this episode. Those are my two favorite matches this week. And I can't wait for the two of them to be one of them to be NXT champion or the North American champion, and the other one challenging for it, because those promos, the weeks leading up to that match, are going to be insane. Because I think these two are probably the most exciting individual wrestlers that NXT has had on the male side.
This side of Eric Bugenhagen.
I mean, you know what? Karrion Kross is fun, but I don't think I look forward to the art of his matches like I do for Thatcher and Lumis.
You know what? Before you get accused of hyperbole, I like Karrion Kross. I like Thatcher. I like Dexter. Of those three, one of them brings his smoking hot wife. He gets a crazy pyrotechnic song, a crazy pyrotechnic entrance with his own original song with actual lyrics. He gets basically a 90-second short story every time he comes to the ring. They are promoting the unholy hell out of this guy. So I think he's about where somebody with a rocket on their back would be.
Yeah.
But Thatcher and Dexter are basically just kind of, flying by their coattails and just getting over by kind of more or less, being themselves. They're getting a little bit of, pomp, but nowhere near the Karrion Kross level. So I think I'm endeared, kind of like what you're saying. I'm kind of endeared more to those other guys who are, not getting, matches against, Tommaso Ciampa. They're a little bit, a little bit lower right now. I think they're doing really well.
Yeah. I mean, not obviously we love Oni and Lurkin on this program.
And Danny and Birch. Don't want to forget those two. Yeah.
But I mean, we know what's up. So when you have a singles match against Oni Lurkin, you're not really, knocking at the main event
scene. You're fighting two guys. You think you got Lorcan down, you turn around, Oni's right there. I mean, you got to be careful. You got to keep your head on a swivel.
Anyhoozles, if you guys want to help support the show and hear more of this wrestling talk that we could, I'm so excited about this week. We couldn't even get through our promos before it started leaking its way in. But you want to go to bodpodcast.com to support our show and head up to the top bar if you're looking for some CBD products. We are affiliated with cbdmedic.com, so you can click the top bar of our website, and that'll take you to cbdmedic.com, and you could use our promo code BODPodcast. That's BODPODCAST, BODPodcast, to get a third item free when you buy 2 items. I think that's a good way to say that.
Yeah,
get your third item free when you buy 2. Buy 2, get 1 free. That's the deal. BOD Podcast is the code, and that's at the top bar of the bodpodcast.com or brothersofdiscussion.com. We'll also post a link. If you're finding us through Twitter, I usually post a thread for the episodes. You can find that in the Twitter thread that'll be pinned to the profile once this episode goes live. And we also have on anchor.fm/brothersofdiscussion. This is our favorite part of the show where we get to give another shout out to Amy D, who is right now, or you know what? I haven't checked that in a while. Maybe we do have another person. But we are taking, I'm just going to call it donations for the show. We're using it to actually build up the production of the show, and like I mentioned before, I'm practicing with Photoshop and whatnot. So I mean, is it going to a great cause? Are there better things right now you can send your money to? Absolutely, but we're just saying, if you had the funds and you've been listening for a while and you enjoy us, that's where you can support the show. I'm gonna say,
you are gonna maybe toss it into a wishing well and hope that, I wish there was just a better wrestling podcast out there. But turns out that wishing well's right here. So by throwing that coin over here, you're making that dream come true. So there you go. Just toss a coin to your brothers of discussion.
All right, and we actually, we have.
We just got canceled.
Oh, whoops. All right, we're gonna have to talk to Amy after this episode. Amy. All right.
Hey, also, while we're name dropping,
but thank
Chris
you,
B,
Amy, so much.
Chris B has been going ham this week. Brandon W. His posts always blow up, so I just want to throw him some credit there. And then, of course, Andre C. That guy is always the voice of reason whenever things start to go off the rails. So just want to shout out those three guys on Facebook as well.
And what about the Hammer, I think?
Yeah, the Hammer. He's been coming out there with some posts. He's got a lot of enthusiasm. So, Hammer, just want to shout you out, buddy.
My absolute favorite thing that happened with Hammer in the last month is I think he celebrated a birthday, correct?
Yes.
And someone that you don't know, that I knew from different like I knew from a completely different source, one of my former jobs, posted on his Facebook page, happy birthday, Hammer, miss ya. And then, I was like, whoa, Hammer's Hammer's blowing up. He's
a man about town. Yeah, he's like the mayor.
So check out those Hammer posts, yeah.
Speaking of mayors, Glenn Jacobs, bad. Shame on him. He voted against the COVID mask requirement. Man, the irony just writes itself. I know that for the longest time he was against wearing a mask, which is why piece by piece he started to remove more and more from his ring attire. But this is a time when I think we can do 1998 Kane and last 2008 Kane.
If there's anybody I thought we could count on to understand or to just go all right, I'm just walking around. I'm inside of Home Depot. I'm not exerting a great amount of energy right now. I'm just walking around. I can handle a mask. And if there's anybody that could come around and say, it's easy to do, folks. I did it for years, and I was running around a wrestling ring. It would be Mr. Jacobs, but unfortunately, God damn it.
It's not a thing where we got to get on the social media. Let's cancel Kane.
Yeah, cancel Kane. But matches never happen.
It's just like if I was gonna spend money on an autograph, now it's definitely something I'm gonna second guess. Be like, he's just a guy, I don't need that autograph. That's expensive signed autograph anymore. I'm not gonna skip his matches if I'm on the network, but just stuff like this with the numbers just rocketing all over parts of his country. It's just shocking to see that kind of outspokenness against public health. So, just kind of disappointing. I don't know.
I listen to a lot of podcasts, and everybody's kind of taking their moment here. Wear a fucking mask. I know that a lot of our listeners
are preaching
to the choir. Yeah, I just went and bought a 4th of July package at Home Depot for new appliances.
Oh, there's a fucking Kane mask you can buy. There's a Kane red and black mask you can buy.
Well, as everybody knows, my wife is a doctor, and we sat 6 feet away from our Home Depot appliance person, and she went ham herself on just tearing masks down and how dumb it is and how nobody got sick in her store for 3 months. So this whole thing is just made up. And then she gets to the point where it's like, well, what do you guys do? Because, you're sitting there filling out paperwork and stuff to buy all these appliances. And then, and then my wife gets to say, well, I'm a doctor. Oh, well, what do you think about all these masks? And my wife, this is her job. It's her job when she's at work. It's her job 24/7 to be knowledgeable in the science of doctoring someone's health. It's just, she has to know this stuff. So she gets the actual articles that are backed by science, and she said absolutely 100% you should be wearing your mask. Is it going to cure COVID? No. But what the amount that you can cut back on people getting sick just by us going out to this Home Depot trip, and we don't get within 10 feet of anybody, but we also have the masks on. So if the coughs happen, they're back in our face. It's just, the steps backward that this lady took when she realized she was speaking to someone with some authority was hilarious. And I think that's why we need to say it. That's why it's one of those things that maybe somebody would just say, stick to wrestling or stick to sports or whatever. Stick to sports entertainment. But, I mean, like, it really is helping. And your fight against it does no good. And this goes especially to Kane, who used a mask to make millions of dollars, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars. So why doesn't he try and save like thousands of lives by wearing a mask and then helping? You know what? Probably a lot more than thousands of lives, considering he's a mayor and he can really do some good. But
especially because the mayor's going to be out there shaking hands and kissing babies, like
stupid asshole.
Yeah. I mean, you can kill somebody. Even if you're asymptomatic, guess what? You can give it to somebody who's not dead. Speaking of killing, Matt, we need to make a quick moment here for MVP WWE, Taz, and AEW who are killing on the microphone. Matt, this Ruthless Aggression era, all it did was turn out super duper stars left and right. We're talking about Edge, Orton, Cena, and my God, man, MVP and Taz.
Look, I guess it did.
I lumped them together. I wanted to see, if you had any hot reactions to it, because they're literally doing the same thing. They're established, confident, swaggerific dudes on the microphone, and they're both carrying like the biggest, beefiest dude on either show. MVP kind of giving Bobby Lashley the first relevance since he was battling Donald Trump at WrestleMania. And Brian Cage, who, if you've been watching a lot of WWE, if you're only watching AEW, you might not know about Cage's, career before All Elite Wrestling. And Taz is just totally helping this guy ingratiate himself, feel like a real presence, feel like not just a presence, but a main event threat to, being the champion of the whole show. And both those guys are just giving a verbal clinic to everybody on both of those respective shows. Matt, do you think it's kind of interesting that they're kind of both doing a very similar, kind of Heyman-Brock Lesnar relationship there?
Well, here's my first hot take, because you asked for hot takes.
Yeah.
My first one is that we're going to look back 10 years from now and go, oh my God, we were watching AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan on like a weekly basis. This was the greatest era of pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Kenny Omega is on TNT every week fighting with Adam Hangman Page, and Cody Rhodes has a mid-card title. This is the greatest. Like, it's going to happen 10 years from now. We're all going to. So, you're right. That's my first hot take. All right. Other hot takes. I have to give a shout out to myself for texting back and forth with one of our fans of the show, and they were asking, it was Amy, she wanted to know, why would one not like Brian Cage, and why does that not sound right?
No, you nailed it. Yeah, you're good.
I don't know. It feels like I said it too many times.
Brian Cage?
It's like I said it. Yeah. I said it too many times, maybe recently. It's one of those words or names that now it's just lost all meaning. But I said the reason I don't like him is because he's so intimidating, because he replaced his arms and shoulders with balloon animals. So that's... Oh, come on! I was so proud of that last night. That's like a great joke.
Maybe Amy sent you a polite lol in a text, but... Real life?
It looks like, come on, he's so ripped and huge. Look at how scrawny I am.
I wasn't gonna out a bad joke. I was just gonna make a little, but you brought it up and
come on. It does look like he's got balloon animals.
How about you leave the jokes to MVP and Taz? That was oof.
God damn it. Fucking. All right, yeah, they're good.
I think
Oh, I will say, all right. I know we were talking about, like, pretending COVID doesn't exist. I don't think, though, we should be using it to, like, promote business? No? Is that wrong?
What are you referring to?
Well, Taz making reference that AEW doesn't have sloppy. Their testing habits aren't sloppy as opposed to their rival. I get because you've been on the soapbox for a while that Roman Reigns shouldn't just be ignored or like they act like he doesn't exist. I still make the argument that there's a ton of guys that go out with injuries and stuff, and they don't just keep coming back to them until they're ready to actually come back and wrestle again. So I like from a production standpoint, they've got Drew McIntyre to sell, they've got other things to sell. I kind of get that. So just kind of going like, all right, Roman Reigns is gone.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of petty one-upsmanship. I tried to tease it to start the show.
The Great American Bash starts it all, right?
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't anything going on for NXT, and then boop, we're gonna simulcast. We're gonna do it at the same time. Taz cutting his promo. Cody coming out with a Great American Cody T-shirt in the same font as Great American Bash. Last week, Jim Ross was taking digs at WWE's testing. I don't know if we really need it. I don't know if people... I know it still exists on Twitter, obviously, but I don't even know what kind of sample size that is. What are those humans that actually give a shit about that? Like we have in our notes today to just mention that NXT's, won a couple weeks in a row, and I think deservedly so. They've put on some pretty good shows. But it's just so weird that these camps are so divided. Like, we don't win anything. We don't get a prize. If one of them fails and goes out of business, that just means there's less competition for wrestling to improve and less job opportunities for wrestlers to have less opportunities for them to be on TV.
There's a deeper conversation there too. Like that they've been fighting for the same 1.5 million, like less than for a very long time, and we haven't seen that number really go up. And I'm talking about like really go up. Like we see these numbers like kind of going ding 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 ding, but it's still makes these tiny little differences. So it's nothing's really seeing like huge increases. And think about what we're talking about: Fyter Fest and the Great American Bash. Did we see a couple of 1 millions pop up? Nope, same numbers, just
it's the exact same.
Yeah, like maybe a little plateau. Like this is too much. It's like flat, and then it jumped up a little bit. But I mean, it's not. You can't really tell. Anyways, I think that's the deeper conversation. I just a lot of people were patting Taz on the back for doing that. I don't know for whatever reason. And if I gave it more time, like we've done this before, we've talked at length about things that I initially get really angry about, and then I pull back. Last night I wouldn't say angry, but it just rubbed me the wrong way, and I was like, okay, this is serious. You have an entire building full of people right now, or I don't see masks on everybody. You're high-fiving. Guys are like they don't. I get. You know what we just said? Let's put masks on. And unlike WWE programming, they don't have a blocker between fans and the talent.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
They both suck.
If we learn that AEW's been like sticking the rod up people's noses and doing the test, all right, you win. If that's not what's going on, then tell them to shut the fuck up. But if that is what's going on, which, we're not behind the curtain to see if these people are all getting tested, all the employees are getting tested, all the cameramen, producers, writers, then they should shut up. But if that is the case, you could make an argument, you know what, Taz? Yes, go ahead, say something.
It's not enough.
If they're going to that length, then WWE with, Vince McMahon just getting another financial report that he's up to $2 billion now in net worth. You could probably do some testing on your guys.
I'm just saying, like, neither one of them is doing enough, because as much as we're sitting here talking about wrestling, like, they're not doing enough because they have a fucking TV show on. That's how I know they're not doing enough. It shouldn't be on. That's doing enough. There's no other way to argue about it. You're still taking a risk that doesn't need to be taken.
I don't know.
You can do more. I'm saying you could do more than the other guys, but until it's perfected, like all the conversations that are going on, our other show that dives into the NHL and the NHL trying to come back, all these conversations about, like, okay, you can have this many family members, but that come with you once the NHL gets started again, but they can't leave the hotel, and they're stuck within this bubble. And now there's the new, there was flatten the curve, and now there's tighten the bubble, I think or shrink the bubble. So you need to shrink the bubble. Is the bubble completely, airtight, as small as it can be for both of these programs? There's no way.
To get to some level of normalcy, though, if you are testing and everybody's coming up negative, I can't advocate for them to still shut down the show.
Yeah, but they're not doing it like how the NBA and NHL are. Like, both of these programs, if they get a positive test, they're going to keep it, like Moxley comes out and it's not exactly like straight from AEW first. It's just, there's not like a weekly report like there is with the professional sports leagues, and there doesn't have to be. So there can be, more going on that we're never going to hear about. Maybe it's like, almost hopeful. Like, if that's what Taz is saying, maybe they actually are testing people like weekly, before you get into the arena. I know. Like, it's like, it's definitely possible. But their champion... It's kind of... Yeah, it's conjecture on our part. Yeah. Yeah, their champion is off TV. So, airtight? No. It's not. Right? But he might have gotten it because of WWE's testing. So or lack thereof. So then they're not doing enough. I mean, if Moxley gets it while he's at home, that doesn't mean he's getting it in the ring. But that's what I was saying about, like, the NHL's got all these problems now with, like, oh, you can bring this many family members, but they can't leave the hotel room kind of thing. It's like, all right, so, we're getting too deep into this again because we spent like an hour on it last week. Yeah. But I guess I'm saying, like, if you knew Renee Young was leaving the house, and is it her responsibility, or is it Jon Moxley's responsibility to, like, ask, hey, are they doing the proper testing that, we're doing a perfect job over here at AEW. Are you guys doing that? And then when she says no, then he says, all right, well then, yeah, we can't see each other because I have a responsibility to Cage and to Taz to make sure that I'm healthy, because not only do I need to make sure that they're healthy, I need to make sure I'm at my scheduled event defending the heavyweight title for AEW. I mean, I'm not saying he has to go that length. I'm saying it's dumb to use it as a story and to, like, sell matches in your company when it's not perfect. You're still putting people at risk. You're still, like, it's an imperfect system. It's not a thing to sit there and puff your chest out while Jon Moxley's off TV. I don't know. You can point fingers, but ultimately, like, it just proves that it's not an airtight system. It's. I guess it's. I'm not defending it, I guess, but it's wrestling. I mean, we've seen all sorts of disgusting storylines. Let's look at Jeff Hardy. I think it's just something that's always going to happen. People talking about Ronda Rousey's depression. That's a storyline. For this I think is a little bit more tame. I guess it's heel work. I don't know. I wouldn't have written it. I wouldn't have given it the green light. I think more importantly, it's just, if AEW, please, if you're doing that, if you're going to make that kind of joke, please be the ones who are at the forefront of proper testing. That's all I ask. But we got to move on. We still got to cover Wednesday night. And I just wanted to touch base on a couple other things because I know we mentioned Ruby, or not yet. We mentioned MVP and Taz having prominent spots on TV. And honestly, now I can't even imagine
either show without those guys. And then we've had some returns, on the WWE side. We've had Ruby Riott make her return. Big Show is suddenly getting spots all of a sudden. And my God, man, Ricochet still works on Monday Night Raw. Who knew? I don't know if this is them kind of, it's not quite that awful part of November when WWE is in the midst of like football season, and they will just, whatever crazy idea they get off the dartboard, they'll just, Ricochet versus Dolph versus Killian Dane for the #1 contendership to be the tag team partner of R-Truth to go for the Raw tag team titles. Well, okay, let's do it. It's just, let's roll the dice. This kind of felt for me like a very bittersweet moment. One, because I love Ruby Riott. I think she's fantastic. She's got all the Alexa facial expressions. I think she can wrestle a bit like Asuka, and I think she really cuts those kind of gritty, bitter promos, a bit like Sasha is doing. It's just I don't know why she can't get off like this same ceiling. She can't break the Ruby Riott glass ceiling. I don't know what's going on. She kind of rebooted her look a little bit. She lost her cronies. She's a one-woman show. She's definitely somebody who can carry, a storyline by herself. And for whatever reason, I don't see it. I don't see. I'm not getting rewarded for my fandom. And then, on the other side, Ricochet, this poor guy, they tried to, give him titles in NXT. They made him part of a winning tag team with Alistair. Now he's part of a tag team with Cedric Alexander, and it's just in the toilet. The dude has not looked like a legitimate threat to anybody. Maybe since like the Royal Rumble. And I just, Matt, what do you think why are these two suddenly getting TV time? Do you think it's kind of like a November situation, or they're really going to try and reboot these people a little bit?
Well, to jump back into the COVID conversation, they did talk about rotating talent, for like quarantine purposes, and like making sure that they were
make sure everybody gets sick. Yeah.
Well, it's like part of the testing, and to like find, I don't know. I can't describe it because I'm not an expert, but it's one of those things where you keep people away, and then they get testing, and then they, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but it's part of the process, like this rotation when you have a giant talent pool, not just like talent in regards to pro wrestling. I mean like giant businesses that it's over my head. I can't speak to it. I know that was discussed a couple months ago, was that they were going to be rotating talent due to this. So I think that's part of it. It could be they were quarantined. Could be somebody else is quarantined, so they have these guys on TV. Why it happens outside of those reasons, I think this is healthy. I think we've always complained about the talent pool being too large with the WWE. So this is something too where I think these guys, they have the money to give these guys time off. I think the guys deserve time off. So I think this is ultimately can be a good thing. I think it just matters how they come back. I think Ruby coming back and losing a couple weeks in a row, Ricochet just kind of being in some backstage segments to remind you he exists, not doing great. Now the Big Show stuff, that's killer right now. I'm learning that apparently whoever gets in the ring with Randy Orton is going to deliver the promos of their life. The Big Show stuff, I'm super on board with. I'm not sure if this is still just to keep promoting his Netflix show, or if this is also like another like, hey, we've had a lot of wrestlers get COVID, so we need somebody to step in, or Edge getting hurt. Edge could have COVID and they're just not reporting it, and they just don't want people to know. I guess Randy wouldn't still be on TV. Anyway, it's all confusing. Do I know why? No, I don't. I think what I can comment on is I think it, regardless of what their actual plan is here, or if it's just, I don't know what to do with them right now, so let's just put this toy in the corner.
Yeah.
If it's that, I'm still kind of okay with it, because they do have way too much talent, and we need to kind of breathe every now and then and go, like the time we had without Bray Wyatt and The Fiend, before now he's jumped back into the main event picture, I think was perfect, right? Because then I tuned into SmackDown to watch it,
right.
Make sure I saw what was going on. It's just, I think the
the
problem is
makes
that they're not handling
kind of thing. Yeah,
they're not handling these returns properly. They're not making a big deal out of it. Ruby just pops up out of nowhere. Same with Ricochet. So that's the problem, right?
Yeah,
maybe a win.
I'll say, what's weird is like kind of bringing it full circle before we move on to the Wednesday Night Wars, is just MVP babysitting Bobby Lashley, who is not a wordsmith. That's okay. He's an incredible power man, and he looks legit. And now that he's kind of figured out this heel gimmick, he looks like a giant scary monster. Knowing that we could have had a version of Bobby Lashley like this whole time, it kind of shows you that, man, maybe you really could push anybody you want and make them, look formidable. It's only taken MVP a couple weeks to turn Bobby Lashley into one of the best products on WWE programming. That's all it took. So just, I guess, seeing Ruby Riott, seeing Ricochet, seeing Big Show,
Yeah.
for me, it's just another example of, man, with just like a little, title match here and there for Ruby, if Ricochet had a mouthpiece, these could be people who are at the forefront of the company. So I think it's just kind of interesting that it's MVP has exemplified what can happen, if you give one person a little bit of help, how huge of a star they can be. So it's just kind of a shame then for me to be reminded how much I love Ruby and to see how she's, kind of toiling away barely in the mid card. So
Well, I mean, like, don't forget, like, they tried like Paul Heyman with like Cesaro, and that didn't work. So a lot of credit does have to go with MVP, and it has to go with like mixing the characters, like who's going to actually have chemistry when they go out there. And for whatever reason, Paul Heyman and Cesaro just it didn't mix. It didn't work. What was the other one they did? Curtis Axel too with Paul Heyman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Sometimes
I mean, you definitely got to bring something to the table, but I think
Ruby
as far as like
could...
who has more charisma, I don't know if it might be Axel over Bob Lashley, but I know Bob Lashley, his body type, it's pretty, one of a kind, so that's going to set him apart. But
I think it's this idea of building titans, and Bobby fits that idea of being a titan, just like McIntyre does. That's why it was a couple months going in the Royal Rumble, and we were chanting 3-2-1 with McIntyre, and then now he's. You know what? People still have hate on Twitter, but I still think collectively, as a group of pro wrestling fans, we're all like, yeah, this is a good thing. Like, McIntyre should be the champion. He's handling it perfectly.
I feel like he should be the champion of Earth at this point. Like, that's how
right.
That's how much confidence I have in him to defend us against like an alien invasion.
And I think the women's division right now is struggling because they do get like it's still like a quarter of the segments, right? On like television.
Oh god, yeah. It's
so
yeah.
You're trying to build. They're still trying to build titans. So you've got Becky, who's gone, Asuka, Charlotte, obviously. I guess the 4 horsewomen, and then Asuka. So is there room for another titan? Probably not until somebody else gets hurt, or they just want to save Ruby Riott as like somebody that can challenge, but isn't necessarily going to be at that titan status. I think for them, if they're marking titans right now, they already told us Shayna's not good enough, but I think Io, and this could be our transition, could be the next one.
Yeah.
Oh, and Rhea Ripley, also another titan.
No, it's just for me. It just you'll probably have a good hockey example, but I just feel like in basketball, it's almost like when the Oklahoma City Thunder had Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden, and you're watching James Harden like, man, what is he doing as the sixth man? You could see him kind of headlining his own team and leading them to victories, and yeah, I just don't get to see that yet from Ruby, and I know she can handle it, so it's comforting to know that she's still got it, but disheartening to see that it's not something that looks like it's going to be in the near future. We can move on to Matt. We did. I don't know if we want to call him.
I've got a tail tucker.
Oh, Matt's got a tail tucker
this week. Don't read the notes; it's a surprise.
All right.
Mike, do you want to describe the tail tucker segment? I did delete your copy.
It is not. It's a newer segment. It is not an allusion to Take from Heavy Machinery. It's more or less. You kind of look at a booking decision. Maybe in the short run that just really made you grind your molars, and now that you're seeing like the bigger picture, you kind of tuck tail, and you're like, you know what, I was wrong about that. So it's really an introspective look at maybe something you were upset about, and now you're kind of starting to see the other side of it, and you're kind of you're flipped onto the other side, the other opinion.
So mine was a couple weeks ago when the Great American Bash was announced and that Fyter Fest was already supposed to be going down. I said, I'm not watching that shit. That is such a cheap ploy to get me to watch fucking NXT for a night. It's so blatantly obvious, and it's such a game I don't want to see played in my pro wrestling. I'm not watching it. And then I forgot I said that. and then I watched last night out of habit. So I'm going to tuck my tail and say, God damn, am I happy that I forgot I said that, because the Great American Bash, Part 1, there's a whole nother one coming up where I think they're going to deliver an hour-long Keith Lee and Adam Cole match, which just blows my mind that Keith Lee's going to go for 60 minutes. The guy's athletic, but, I mean, you can't deny that stamina might be an issue. But the first, the Part 1, it was almost perfect to me. I think they nailed it with these non-title mid-card matches. Again, you know what? You have your non-title main event, a bunch of non-title matches, and the show was fantastic. The wrestling was great. The storytelling was great. They had their goofball matches, which I think a lot of people are upset about that. But I still had fun watching it, and it was an opportunity to put Rhea Ripley on TV, so now you know which match I'm talking about, and to show off her brute strength. Like, it wasn't just a story, it wasn't like kayfabe strength. It was, you got to see easily one of the strongest women in pro wrestling, not just on the roster. I mean, easily, like, very impressive to see a double finisher held by just forearms and biceps by Rhea. So, like, top to bottom to me, it was like built as like a mini WrestleMania where you had the feats of strength, and it didn't have to involve title matches, but they did a great job telling stories before, even with this short amount of time. And then great in-ring storytelling, and then the talent was just tops for me. The talent in the ring was fantastic.
Yeah, I think when I first heard about the two, I'd be on the same page there, but yeah, I didn't miss Fyter Fest, so I guess I didn't really tail talk on this one. But I'm just glad you got a good show.
Did I say Adam Cole or Adam Page?
I think you said Adam Cole.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good. Well, yeah, let's get into it, Matt. I think the NXT card was,
well,
I think a little juicier.
And we're biased too, right? Because I think you and I love Thatcher, and I absolutely love Lumis, probably more than most. But I think that this was an opportunity to sell both of these guys. And if you watch those matches and you don't get it, at this point, you never will. But yeah, these for me, it was almost like a perfect card, especially with the ending that you got with Io and Asuka. But I watched AEW this morning, Mike, and I I still can never get away from the idea that this is just produced to be a more fun wrestling show. And that's all we ever ask is for our TV or our pro wrestling to be fun. And it starts, I think, with, you made the comment here on Jericho being in commentary. God, he is so good.
Yeah.
That fucking Orange Cassidy piece of shit.
I think it's because, like, Triple H and the boys at NXT, like, this week, they brought, they really tried to bring it. So they had Io versus Sasha, which it's such a monster, match. I almost said monster mash. The way that Charlotte has been the one to kind of parachute into NXT, like the, Rocky checking in on the young, boxers in the ring. Hey, you guys never did it like me, I think Sasha watching those NXT, that's what inspired me. Like, yeah, seeing that Sasha, I'm gonna say that she's the one who had an impact on those numbers for NXT, defeating AEW. But it was more one-on-one matches. Sasha, Dexter, Roddy, and I hate Roddy Strong promos as much as I love watching him wrestle. He's so good.
It's his voice. I'm telling you. We've been talking about casting since episode 1, and the casting just does not work for like a tough guy promo from Roddy Strong.
He's not a jokey guy. That's why he's got Adam Cole.
Weaselly. Yeah, him being scared of Dexter. Ooh, his voice is perfect for that. Like that's Roddy Strong, and I'm sorry, Roddy. That's how you sound. You know it. It's too nasally and too whiny. Go ahead.
It's like Oni Lorcan. I'm like, man, this guy is great. Can you imagine if he was like the same guy, but he was like 6'3", and then Thatcher comes along and like, hey, look at me. So he's like a big Lorcan. He's super violent. He works ultra stiff. One of the matches I can't wait to see is Thatcher versus Roddy Strong, just to see, what just two totally fucked up, sets of pectorals look like after the violent knife edge chops those guys are going to give each other. And then, like you said, AEW was more fun. It was Jurassic Express versus Wardlow and MJF in tights so pink, I think the Macho Man would have blushed. Orange Cassidy comes out.
He has a great classic look. I really think what he's doing with his heel work and he's really representing like classic pro wrestling. Even with his style too. Like he doesn't get he'd fit in great with FTR. So I think that would be a fun hookup. I think the four of them with Wardlow included would be. It would make sense. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about style. I'm a hockey guy. You always bring up your basketball things. Let's talk hockey. If you had to make a line, that line makes sense. You got 3 guys that are working the same way. They're not getting all confused with some guy being a playmaker and this guy.
Yeah.
You've got a grind line right there. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I got my 10,000 steps hopping right there. That's great.
Woo! Just keep hopping, man. Or put it in the dryer. That's what I do. That's how I get those Fitbit steps. The other matches on the card, it was just, like Private Party versus Santana and Ortiz. Just kind of like, we kind of threw this together. No real stakes involved. You had the Best Friends going against Omega and Page. I don't think anyone really thought the Best Friends were going to win.
They did have a great entrance, though.
Yeah, that's true. I was just trying to, like, the whole show, like, bell to bell, like, Cody going up against Jack Hager. I love Cody. I get what they're trying to do with Jake. It's just there's something missing. He's supposed to be an MMA fighter. He kind of loses on something that an MMA fighter, a real one, probably wouldn't have lost on. Like, if you get the submission, you let go. He wouldn't have just laid there and gotten pinned by Cody. It was just... It was almost to think about 2 Macho Man references. It was when Macho Man, like, push-upped himself off of Yokozuna and eliminated himself in a Royal Rumble. It was like that kind of level of stupidity. Like, so this is your life, man.
Like, I was actually thinking about this earlier when I first watched the end of that match, and we are kind of all over the place. So I don't know if we want to start hitting specific.
Yeah, we'll go to the top 3 of each show. Just kind of wanted to do kind of a larger picture, but yeah.
But I mean, so you're making the point being made about the best friends, and then the tag champs Omega and Page, Private Party versus Santana and Ortiz. The ending to the Cody Rhodes and Hager match, it doesn't make any fucking sense. Why the fuck is Dustin running out there? Why is Cody falling to heel tactics to beat the heel faction? That made no sense, and it didn't, like, it felt to me like, are we seeing, like,
time they did that too, because Marco Stunt interfered in the Jurassic Express match,
right? That too, and I don't know if we're seeing this thing where it's just like, who cares, like, heel face, like, we're just doing. No, I don't. I mean it in a different way to write the show. Like, are we just stuck on, here's what wrestling is supposed to be, and AEW's like, fuck that. Like, Cody wants to win any means necessary. But then, so that part I didn't like, but then, like you said, like, see, UFC fighter. Like, he should know when he's getting pinned. I'm not saying they end, and I know they don't end the same way, but, like, he should be trained to move in different ways to make sure he's not getting hit. I'm pretty sure he could move to make sure he's not getting pinned during his own submission. So I don't know what, like, the end game is there, because it really felt like the way we got to listen to Jericho complain about the ending to that match. It really felt like, are we watching, like, the beginning of a face turn? Like, right, is the Inner Circle are we gonna have Sammy Guevara come back, and they're gonna make it storyline, because I guess everything's okay to do for story.
Yeah, he's like rehabilitated.
So he's gonna come back rehabilitated, and they're gonna be the Outer Circle, and they'll invite everybody.
The inclusive circle.
Yeah, inclusive. Yeah, I like that instead of inner. Yeah. So I don't. It just, so my point being was, we've got some matches that could have used some more juice going into this week, and instead it feels like everything was just about what's happening between the bells. But it's still like then, if you make that argument, then what the fuck was going on with Cody's match? And so to kind of sum everything up here, when I said that this was like the fun show, that's where it felt like there's more time spent on the best friends going, you know what would be fucking hilarious? Trent's like, my mom, she's available. If she drops us off in that Honda, people are going to lose their mind. And then Cody goes, I'm going to one-up you. I'm going to make a new fucking t-shirt that looks like the old Great American Bash. People are going to lose their fucking mind! And instead, it just made me, like, I had fun watching the matches, but I just wasn't invested in any of these, like, what was going to happen next with any of these. So
it's, I think that's why NXT won. It's just because, if you're going to call it Fyter Fest, I kind of feel like there should be more stakes involved. And the best match of the night was Hikaru Shida versus Penelope Ford, who, holy fuck, had like the best match of her career. And she didn't even have Kip Sapien at ringside. She was just basically out there, healing it up on her own. She survived multiple finishers from Shida. It was pretty damn impressive. It was a real coming out party. But then, like, just kind of follow suit with the rest of the show.
Yeah.
The stakes were low because there was a lot of silliness. There was a lot of faces interfering to help faces win. And then this was like the second match on the card, and it was the best match. So it was just kind of like, this could have been, maybe an opportunity for them to, main event, unless they were just worried that, if they knew ahead of time Io and Sasha was going to go last. That's tough to go up against for any other one-on-one opportunity, because that's a real main event go home show.
Well, what's funny too is we spent weeks like talking about why is NXT failing and why is AEW really the top show. So now it just to kind of at least argue the point for why is this okay to talk about, because I can't stress enough that I thought this was the more fun show, or they were having more fun creating it than they do in NXT. But
like NXT treated Wednesday night like a pay-per-view. AEW treated it like Wednesday.
Yeah. I think it's just it's part of our like, we can only really give opinions on this. We're never really breaking news. So we're trying to like dissect this philosophy of like what is missing from this, and I think we nailed it. I think we could do with some more juice in between. We could do with some matches that are gonna mean a little bit more, and maybe we're gonna get that next week when we see Jericho and Orange Cassidy go at it. So I don't know. I don't mean to make such a strong point, because ultimately I would come back to the best friends in Kenny Omega and Hangman in that main event, which was phenomenal. I really thought it was a great match, and if I could do another tail tucker, I made fun of that buckshot lariat when AEW first started, and I said, oh my God, did we see 8 buckshot lariats in that Jericho versus Hangman Page match? That thing, when they hold back, and he doesn't just treat it as like a 6-shooter, and he's just like, pow, 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 pow. When it's actually a buckshot lariat, like he's got that one shot, it's great. That is a great move, and it really got me hyped up and out of my seat. So that's my other tail tuckers, that I slept on
coming
that
around,
move,
huh?
and it really is fantastic. Not a one-winged angel, but it's coming around.
Wait, let's do the top 3 of each show, man. I had AEW, you had NXT. I think there's a consensus NXT won, so I'm gonna go ahead and do moment number 3 from All Elite Wrestling. Collectively, I'm not gonna let it be number 2 and number 1. It went all the way from bell to bell. It was Chris Jericho on commentary.
Whoa!
He had me legitimately laughing out loud multiple times. Whether he was harassing poor Arn Anderson for being fat, for looking like an inept coach, for looking like Wilford Brimley, all the above, and then additionally, he kind of has that, if you've been watching a lot of Raw, he kind of has that Samoa Joe enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm sorry, he's on SmackDown now, isn't he? I can't keep track of when these guys...
They're rotating.
All I'm thinking of is, I just have this image in my head of when Samoa Joe watches like a high fly move, and he'll be like, oh, beautiful! And I'm like, yeah, that was beautiful. Good call, Joe. Jericho has that same appreciation. Even if he is the heel, he'll still, give kudos to the face in the match.
Yeah.
He was really running the whole table. A table that has Excalibur, that has Shivani, that has Jim Ross at their disposal. Jericho is just showing that he's the GOAT. He's right up there with the Rocks and Stone Colds. There's no disputing that. Matt, moment number 3 for NXT.
See, I'm looking at this and like, I'm not gonna have any surprises here. I'll say that. It's just there were so many great things to pick from. God damn it! All right, I gotta stick with my guns here. I mean, they're 2 of my favorite wrestlers right now, so they're gonna go number 3 and number 2. But I mean, Thatcher and Larkin, man, those 2. I could just look at Thatcher's face, and that's enough to sell a match for me. But man, this guy, he's so ready. I mean, it seemed like there was a great deal of folks that were tweeting about, holy shit, Thatcher's really got it going here. And it was Triple H that kind of had to calm everybody down and tweet out like, all right, no, I watched it too. I put him on TV. I loved it as well. So it's good to see like that. That seems to happen every now and then where Triple H has to tweet something out or like kind of acknowledge the fans, or he's like, shut the fuck. I get it. I'm not the problem. So So it's just, I mean, it's one of those things that once Triple H does put out that message, though, you know that there's enough people like on our side that are tweeting at him or making those comments that this guy's really got it. But then it's another thing to see Triple H actually acknowledge it and go, yeah, no, this guy really does have it. You're gonna be watching him for a while. So this is exciting to see. I think what he ended with Matt Riddle was fantastic storytelling in a very short amount of time. That was a result of COVID. Like, it was something I don't want to say improvised, but you've got to think on your feet more in the sense where Drew McIntyre has, probably a good 6 months to plan for his WrestleMania victory. Thatcher comes in to tag with Matt Riddle, and then in 2 weeks he's going to be, screwing him over. So it's just Thatcher's been nailing it since he got here. And then, I mean, there's not much to say because this was probably all the problems that I had with Fyter Fest, where there's not enough juice to this match. But as huge, Oni and Lorcan fans, I think everybody knew that we were going to be excited about this one. So, Mike, you're number 2.
Yeah, I guess for number 2, I got to go with Wardlow and MJF battling Jurassic Express. Just because that match did so much for so many guys.
And Jericho was kind of cheering for Jurassic Express. That was part of my confusion the whole night of like, are they starting to turn face?
I don't think that's what's going on. I think that he's
just being a good kind of,
I think he's just so vested in All Elite Wrestling that he wants to promote everybody who bleeds All Elite Wrestling. And I don't know if there's anybody that more encompasses like the thesis of All Elite Wrestling than, Jurassic Express.
Yeah.
It could be, Orange Cassidy. It could goddamn well be Jericho, of course. But being able to, yeah, I mean,
I'm just kidding. I know the point you're making.
Just to try to, have that ability to be silly. Be self-aware that it's not real fighting. I mean, we're not all going home with bruises and stuff like that, but to still be able to turn it on and work. MJF coming out there in the pink tights, cutting a promo, getting everybody as angry at him as usual. The great spots. I still love that tail whip kick by Luchasaurus. But a name we haven't really given a lot of time to is Wardlow, who he got to have a little bit of a coming out party. He did get to pin Luchasaurus on the last Dynamite. But here, the more you watch him, it's kind of like, what if Batista did a kip up like all the time? Like, oh my God, that would be terrifying. Yeah. Oh man, wait till you see Wardlow. He's gonna do that, and he's gonna springboard off the top rope. My God, he's like 6'6", like 300 pounds.
And to talk about like casting all the time too, I like to mention, you put a guy in a situation where he's just a tough bodyguard. He doesn't need to talk, so it doesn't matter what the hell he sounds like. It doesn't matter if he can deliver a promo. Like, perfect casting.
Yeah. That's a good point to add too. It's just, this wasn't a main event. This wasn't for the tag titles. It's just that, these 4 guys, they have a history. They've been doing battle on weekly TV. They've been doing battle on a pay-per-view. So there was that extra juice, that we kind of referenced earlier.
That might be why it was my favorite match.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. There's a couple of moments where you could be, there's a lot of spots going on right now, but the expressions on MJF, the expressions on Jungle Boy, and Wardlow just demonstrating this is why I'm on TV. I think that I'm okay with a couple, maybe extra spots than what could have been there. So, bravo! That's why I get number 2. Matt, moment number 2 in NXT.
And I'd have to throw in real quick that was my daughter's least favorite match because whenever Luchasaurus had a close-up, and this was like her first time really like seeing pro wrestling, was this morning when I was watching Fyter Fest. I'm not sitting on the just so everybody knows, I'm not sitting on the couch with her in my lap and we're watching it. I have it on, and then she turns around and catches like a glimpse. But it's like whenever she did, Luchasaurus was on TV and she'd look at me and just start like she was terrified by Luchasaurus, and it broke my heart because I think I gave her the first thing that she's afraid of. Okay, so where am I? Number 2?
Moment number 2 for NXT.
Yeah. Dexter Lumis beating Roddy Strong. The strap match was such a great idea. There were a couple times where it actually did clunk up one of the attempts where Roddy was trying to run the ropes, and Dexter realized he had to get up, and it yanked him a little bit, and then Roddy didn't hit the ropes quite enough because it was actually Lumis was like pulling him back on accident. Yeah. None of this was on purpose. So then he had to like come back, punch Dexter again, and then he ran against the ropes. So strap matches are not like perfect, but I like the story behind it where, now Roddy can't get away. But it's still like the way Lumis handles himself at the start of matches. It's so similar to The Undertaker of just the slow, the way that he's been approaching Roddy or anybody that he's been fighting. I really enjoyed it when he used it on Adam Cole a couple weeks ago. But
you know how Braun Strowman is like Braun Strongman? Yeah. I just like that Dexter looms. He's Dexter looms. He's just looming on you. But I don't know. It's a cute little wordplay. I like.
Yeah. No, I mean it works perfectly, and I
do wish one of those things Roddy Strong to Roddy Chops. I think.
Well, obviously, but I think when you get down to it, like Thatcher and Lorcan being my number 3, and then Lumis and Roddy being number 2, I think you and I have been in love with Roddy Strong for a long time. When I started my feud with Roddy a little over a year ago, now a part of that was because he was so damn good at pro wrestling, and I was getting frustrated with the way his character was being built. And then, of course, that all changed. When I started whining about it, he became He became a better character. He's still kind of, that voice. God damn. But anyway, we've loved Roddy and his chops and just his in-ring style, and it works perfectly for Lumis, who is trying to develop this character of looming, of having the slow, plotting, deliberate movements. The pure strikes. A lot of just straight punches. Like I said, like the style is... It's not... Obviously, I'm not trying to say completely like The Undertaker, but the in-ring fighting style, when it gets down to maybe like the first 10 minutes of a match, it's very similar to The Undertaker, when it was more about just the, when he became like the purest striker in the game, I think is how Michael Cole used to call it. But Lumis really does. He focuses on those strikes. He makes them look really good. I don't know if it's the gloves, but they look great. And then, I'm going to keep talking in circles here. So you're number 1, Mike.
I'm going to do my dishonorable mention first. It was just Jake Hager, who really looked like a bowl of diarrhea.
He really did look physically bad. Like, he did not look like a guy I'd want on my pro wrestling show.
I always think about, like, because I rewatch it so many times, like AJ Styles' debut in the Royal Rumble, and man, that dude was shredded. He was like, man, I'm AJ Styles, man. I'm gonna introduce these people to AJ Styles. Look at his damn physique. I'm gonna win me the Royal Rumble. And I was like, cool. I see what he's doing. And my boy Jake comes out. He kind of falls into the ring. And he's wearing these loud blue trunks. I was joking on Twitter. He kind of looked like when you buy WWE 2K and you forget to buy the My Creator Wrestler accelerator. So you got to work with the really generic trunks. I guess that's his significant other.
Yeah.
They showed the kind of affection that we've only seen from like Bobby Lashley and Lana, or God forbid our president and Melania. It was that kind of, ooh, are you guys really dating? Is this just like an on-screen thing? Because that didn't look authentic at all. And then we went over how weird the finish was as the professional MMA fighter. He forgot to let go of the hold so he wouldn't lose. It was just kind of mindless. And I'll say the number 1 moment, I touched on it earlier, was just Shida versus Penelope Ford. Hikaru was her usual excellent self. Whether she was, she just wrestles with that same kind of, who's my favorite example to compare it to? Just that, like, that immediacy, that I want to go win this match right now. I'm fighting for my title, so I'm just gonna ruin you. Like there's an immediacy, there's a plan to action. I'm gonna knee you in the face. I'm gonna Falcon Arrow the shit out of you, and I'm getting out of here with my championship. So she's still fighting with that kind of intensity, that kind of like that drive. And Penelope Ford, you know, is Penelope Ford. You know, we'd be surprised to find out she's, you know, taller than 4'11". She's not, you know, she doesn't have like the back and the you know, the traps of Sheeta. But man, did she deliver? She didn't have her significant other as the crutch. She was just out there doing really smart reversals from Falcon Arrows into roll-up pins, holding her own speed-wise against the ropes. And, you know, it looked to her like she wasn't wide-eyed. Wasn't deer in the headlights look. She looked toe-to-toe with one of the best female wrestlers in the world. So it was inspiring stuff. It was a little disappointing to hear Jim Ross go, well, hard not to notice her. I mean, she is a beautiful woman and a great wrestler. Like, come on, JR, it's 2020, yep. Dog. What are you still doing with this 1998 bullshit? But she really held her own. I think if she won the match, obviously, like, the timing would have been quick, but ability-wise, it would have been like, yeah, you know, she kind of, let's see where this goes. She had a little bit, dare I say, a little bit of Alexa Bliss in her. Ooh-wee. Man, that takes us to NXT's. I don't think they had one, but did they have a dishonorable mention before your number one?
No, I think it just needs to be stated that Rhea Ripley match, the handicap match, it served its purpose. And like I said, that was the feats of strength. That was Rhea doing a double finisher. I can't fathom how people like let it escape them that you're still watching professional wrestling. We're not watching Olympic wrestling. We're watching sports entertainment. And like when I talk about AEW being like more fun, that's because they get so much, like, the depth to their sports entertainment is way more vast than NXT. And I'll just say it's more deep, that sports entertainment idea with AEW than it had. Did I say Fyter Fest? I meant AEW. Than it has been with NXT since this battle started. But this was that sports entertainment infusion, and I think, like, what's so ridiculous. Like, we all have fallen in love with Drake Maverick. I'm a huge fan of Baron Corbin right now. We all hated The Miz. What Robert Stone did was what those guys all did when we hated their guts. Can we get past this initial, like, go away hate? Because the guy did a great job the last couple of weeks on NXT being, like, out on his luck, depressed. He's like drunk, walking around in the audience and like hanging out on the stairs during matches. Like, yeah,
he's getting that what Stone Cold always calls the chicken shit, and that guy is doing his goddamn hardest to turn into chicken salad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't understand it. I think this is that moment though where we look back and we say, yeah, that was pretty good. And the same thing we've done again with the Corbins, the Mizes, the Drake Mavericks. Like, eventually we appreciate all of it.
Yeah, I don't need to see a D- from Bleacher Report. You know, I get this is a device. We're making Rhea look strong, and we're making Robert Stone a comedic voice. That's what it's doing.
And trust me, everybody, if you're watching that and like your SO is like embarrassing you for watching it, just know that she's thinking that the entire time you're watching pro wrestling, not just for that segment. So,
moment number one.
Did you not? Am I not supposed to bury the entire industry? Moment number one is Io and Sasha. You talked about two of the best women from AEW, or
NXT,
Sheeta being easily one of the best women on AEW. It's obviously that Rolodex for WWE of female wrestlers sometimes just feels like it's never ending. We were talking earlier how Ruby Riott can't even get on TV, and now Peyton Royce is delivering one of the best finishers I've ever seen. Like, it's fucking crisp and clear. That's amazing. So to go in and have Io and Sasha, like, we knew it was going to be a banger, and yeah, I mean, this was an A+, and then to round it out with the heel tactics mixed with Asuka never really committing to being face or heel, so it can still work for her storyline where she's coming in and fighting her upcoming rivals and opponents in both the team of Sasha and Bayley. So I love this match. I thought they did a great job of just doing straight up pro wrestling of Io and Sasha, and it really felt like Sasha like wanted to come back, and like just seeing her face during the match, like it really felt like she was like, God, I fucking miss this so much. But we love Io. We love Sasha. We knew this was going to be fantastic. And then to mix in the end with Asuka coming in to get the save for Io. And I thought it was really important. Like, there's so many different ways that these matches turn out. And I thought a lot of what happened on Wednesday was taking the person that was supposed to win and they almost lose, but you still get like Private Party getting close. Oh, so close. Yeah. You have the Best Friends getting so close. Just if the ref had been paying attention. This was the opposite. This was where Sasha definitely could have won this match, and it would have made perfect sense. Sasha's one of the most dominant wrestlers in pro wrestling right now. I think we all know that she's got the talent and she should be booked to win matches. But to have it kind of end the way it did and have it end up in Io's favor to help build up the NXT brand, the NXT champion, I think that was why this was the best match of the entire day. And I think that'll get overshadowed. I think a lot of people will miss that point. I think there is a lot of good wrestling and stories to be told when a wrestler who's not supposed to win a match almost like ekes it out. But when they give that match to, like, if you had asked me, I would have obviously been like, oh my, of course Sasha's going to win this one. And it'll be, Bayley's going to help. And Io will get close. So we'll get to walk away with that. But to actually give Io the win, like, God, how many times have we said, like, I think it's going in the right direction. I think they'll figure it out when we initially hate it. But then this is that moment where it's like, all right, no, they did it. They did the booking they should do, not the one that we wanted. Or I'm sorry, the one that not just the one that we wanted, the one that they should do. So with those two ideas combined and then actually executing it, I just, like, there's so much more to take from that victory. And now we've got opportunities too for an Io and Asuka versus Bayley and Sasha coming up on Raw and SmackDown. So I don't think anybody loses with that result.
Yeah, real quick too with the story for this match. I would not be surprised that if Charlotte didn't get injured, she would still be involved in this somehow. And it just really is refreshing to see this. For us to see a reminder of how excellent Sasha is at her job, for her to be, going toe-to-toe with champions, even if it is an NXT, for this match to not come down to Charlotte essentially being in a handicap match, with Asuka, sneaking around at ringside and Io in the ring, and Charlotte only losing because it was technically 2-on-1. This was, 2-on-2, and like, we left with everybody looking stronger and not just, one entity, because it's like they don't know how to write matches and like storylines for Charlotte where we leave the match going, like, the hardcore fans going, man, that was really cool. I can't wait to see what's next for Charlotte. It's always, God, when can we get a break from this broad? She's on every freaking show and she just wins all the time. Like, that's how they make us feel about her, and it's not fair.
I believe I encapsulated that in my version.
Yeah,
where I said,
fuck. Yeah, I just think it's, I'm so excited for all four of these women leaving this. And I just, if it was Charlotte in there, it's not Charlotte's fault. She doesn't get to do the booking. It's just they've done some dumb crap where she, negatively impacts Io and Asuka somehow. I don't know why they keep doing it. But Matt, Well, it was the best match of Wednesday. Arguably the best match of the week.
Oh.
Ever. Yeah, right up there. Okay. Matt, I think we've blathered enough this week.
Found that little Daniel Bryan doll again, and I started playing with it. I gotta. All right.
Ooh, yeah, that's fun.
Everybody, why don't you play with the Brothers of Discussion? What a terrible transition.
Ooh.
All right, go to BOD
if you donate
Podcast.
enough, you can play with us. Come to our fans only page.
OnlyFans / Brothers of Discussion. I think we got to make that now. No, go to bodpodcast.com. You'll find our links to our OnlyFans page where we got some hot back action. We go for 45 minutes. We just do our naked backs. I'm kidding. Go bodpodcast.com, brothersofdiscussion.com to check everything out. Don't forget about that top banner of the site. You can use that to go to cbdmedic.com. Buy 2, get 1 free items at cbdmedic.com with the promo code BODpodcast. So if you want to support the show, you're buying CBD products, we hope that you'll go through our website. It does us a great deal of good. We're using the money not to go into our pockets, but to try and produce a better show. And we did promise, I'm gonna figure it out. We said we were gonna go live to talk about Adam Cole and Keith Lee. I think we can do it. I think we can do it, Mike. All right, so that's my fake commitment because we never follow through, but this time we're gonna do it. So we will see you guys next week, and follow along at BOD Podcast and at on Twitter at brothers_of_discussion on Instagram, and join the live wrestling discussion group. Oh, and don't forget, God, I'm so stupid. Go to Apple Podcasts, subscribe, rate, and review, and go to YouTube and subscribe to our channel. We didn't get any subscribers this week, but we did see our largest view count on our episodes. Actually, Mike, for the Discussion 5, people really liked our discussion about Chell 20. All right, so yeah, if you guys are Red Wings fans, you want to check out, we actually ranked the prospects for the NHL and used simulation of NHL 20, the EA Sports video game, and went out 5 years to see who the best prospect really is. Woo! Yeah, good fun. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Have a good week.
Bye.